Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope you're all well. So I was asked a few times to make a video on this, so here we are. I'm going to show you my current live rig for Vower. If you didn't know, my new band Vower, we've released a couple of songs already. And our brand new EP is coming out on the 8th of July 2024 called Apricity. I'll put links in the description box below. We've even got limited edition vinyls and merch and all that kind of good stuff. But if you didn't know, that's my new band, and if you want to check it out, links in the description box. In any case, we played our first gigs supporting Carnival a couple of weeks ago, and it was insane. And it was a case of getting a rig sorted for that because the gigs kind of popped up last minute. So we wanted to make sure that we had the sounds that we've been writing with and rehearsing with together on stage, and we wanted to utilize cabs on stage as well. What I mean by using cabs on stage is, particularly for Vower, we're actually running the quad Cortex because all of our sounds are dialed in from when we've been writing upstairs. And we basically wanted to take those live for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's quick and easy to set up. Secondly, the sound engineer James, he can just take XLR left and right out of the QC to front of house and have a consistent sound every night that we play a show. Thirdly, because there are so many effects and stomps and the scene mode and everything inside quad Cortex, you don't have loads to carry. You just got this little board, and as you can see on the close-up camera, it's just a little board. The quad Cortex is small anyway, so it allows me to not have to lug loads of really heavy gear. Furthermore, I use obviously Victory amplifiers, the Kraken Mark II. They're lunchbox heads, they're small. I also run the vertical 212s, which are also small. So we're trying to be lightweight with this. So for these gigs, Joe and I had a Kraken and a 212 on either side of the stage, and we had our quad Cortex presets. And basically, we were running XLR out for front of house, and then we were taking an extra out, going to the effects return of the amplifier, allowing us to essentially amplify our sound through the cabs on stage. And you don't necessarily need to mic up the cabs if you don't want. It's up to the sound engineer and what he wants to try and blend. But what it gives us is it gives us that sort of on-stage support that you want to feel and hear when you're playing live. But also it allows for nice ambient feedback when you get close up to the cabinet. There are many benefits to it. For me, I just love hearing the sound of a cab roaring on stage when you see a band live. It's nice to hear it coming out of the PA. For some reason, I find bands sound way more colossal when they've got cabinets that are kicking out as well. So that's what we're trying to recreate here. And because there are two of us, it's a nice stereo image from the stage perspective as well. And in the future, what we're going to be doing is similar to what I've set up here, which is 2 amps, 2 cabs, and we're running extra out 3 and 4 on the QC to make it stereo. So in this video, I just wanted to show you some of the tones that I've dialed in and quickly take you through the rig and how it works. So I'm going to jump down onto the QC right now so you can see the routing if you run a QC yourself and you fancy trying this out. It's a super simple rig at the minute. I've just got the QC, an expression pedal. I used to have a Mission Engineering one, but it broke. So now I've got this little mini Dunlop one, which you can't even see on the close-up. In fact, if I just zoom out, you can see there, this little baby thing. So I'm currently running that until I get a new Mission Engineering one or a bigger sized expression pedal for this board, because that's a little, I mean, look at my foot, it dwarfs this. But yeah, basically, as you can see, it's a super small pedal board. Look at the size of my foot compared to it. It's very, very small. Nice and light, easy to transport around, so very, very handy. So we're currently running the preset for Shroud. This is the same sort of preset running for all of our songs. If you see, they're all running like this. So they're all based on the same template. But we go back to Shroud. First thing I want to point out is our scenes are set up for essentially different sections of the song. So I've got my main rhythm for this song. I've got delay in front of the amp to give you that kind of nice cascading delay effect. I've got a clean, I've got the chorus section of the song. Then I've got sort of a thick fuzz, a fuzz octave, and then my lead section at the end of Shroud. So those are the scenes set up. And what I've got going on is my guitar comes in one, goes into a octave pedal. Next block along that's currently not engaged is the delay in front. If I went to the delay sound, you'd see it turns on. Along to the right I've got a fuzz, that's the Thunderclaw model, which is actually really cool. It's actually my personal Thunderclaw, which is sick. And then if we run along to the next scene, you can see I've got a overdrive. That's the TS808 running into the front. The amp models are my Victory Krakens, which are now in QC. So we've got the Victory Squid, or Victor Squid, channel 1, which for Vower is definitely more the kind of overdrive we want. It's nice, thick, saturated overdrive. If you notice, I've got a split happening here. When I open the splits, we're splitting a perfect A-B level to the, each one is the same. And what I'm doing is I'm running 2 of the same channel and blending them. One's a 6L6 model and one's an EL34 model, as you can see. Because that's what I did in Tosca and that's what I want to keep doing. So what happens is the signal splits off, so all these blocks are affecting both amplifiers, and then it connects back up and continues to row 3. We hit row 3, I've got an EQ, which is currently not doing anything. That's there purely for the sound engineer. If he says, oh, can you get a bit of muddiness out of it, I can dial that in if I want to. So really, it's not doing anything. And then we've got our loop effects. So we've got a delay, analog delay, and I've got the plate lush reverb. And that is essentially in the effects loop of the amplifiers because they come after the amps. Then I've got another split. This essentially splits off, same split as above. So we've got level A and level B equal parts, and that splits off to out 3, which is where I send it to the effects return of the actual amplifier that's on stage. In this instance, because I'm running 2, I can change that to out 3 and 4. So that means I'm hitting both amplifiers. Out 3 goes to one Kraken, out 4 goes to the other. And then after the split is my IR block, and I'm running IRs here, which are then sent to out 1 and 2, which the sound engineer, James, will take. So it's pretty simple, really. It mainly comes down to the scenes and how I'm dialing it in. If you look at the amplifiers, you can see we're changing a lot of stuff in terms of the amount of gain, the EQ, all that kind of stuff. And then my gig view shows me what section of the song I'm in, and I can just freely move around. So that was a quick overview of the preset. And as I said, for all of our songs, I'm using the same template. So I'm running the same amp models, same IR, same reverb and delay to give us continuity. But what's really nice is, you know, using out 3 and 4, sending it to some actual amps and cabs on stage, it just gives me that support that I've been talking about, you know, that extra thump, that extra girth that I want to feel when I'm playing. So the way I've rigged it up for this video is that I've got XLR running direct into the computer, and then I've also mic'd up these cabs. I've got an SM7 on one cab and a SM57 on another cab, so that you can hear the difference really. It's worth saying that, of course, that's all dependent on where I've put the mics on the cab. And the beauty of showing you this is that the XLR is going to be the same every night. So that's why it's useful. James can take that, EQ it how he wants for live sound, and we've basically got, you know, a consistent live sound that works for us every night. However, I've had to mic it up for the video so you can hear how the cabs sound, and the difference is going to be fairly large, you know, because firstly, the IR's running different speakers, different microphones, different environments, whereas they're up against my sort of trying to mic up cabs the best I know. So in any case, I'm going to take you through some sounds so you can see for yourself what it sounds like. Something else to point out is that obviously running valve amps is incredibly loud, which is great for live on stage. But one thing about the Krakens being 50 watts is they're really, really loud. So I'm having to run the master really low on low power in the studio currently. Whereas live you can mess around, you can put it on high power, get a bit more out of it depending on the venue you're in. In any case, let me show you the main sound that I run for Shroud. So that's the kind of main sound, and then I run the delay in front, which gives us that cascading delay sound. So as you can hear, it's great having the reverb, the delay in front, because you get that cascading sort of great sound. And then of course running effects in the loop as well. So next up we've got a clean sound, or I say clean, it's just low gain on the Kraken as I like to have it. Next up, the chorus sound, which is essentially just kind of running the tube screamer into the front of the Krakens. Nice thick sort of sound. So it's super thick. Again, running gain 1 of the Kraken is a thick sound in itself, but adding that tube screamer in front gives it a bit more definition, but keeps that thick sort of sound. I mean, it sounds monstrous in the room. Really hope it's coming across to you guys on the YouTubes. Next is the fuzz patch for the riff in Shroud. So that's the fuzz patch, that's the thunderclaw hitting the front again, and then I've got a fuzz octave for the next section. So that's just a straight up like thick octave fuzz tone. And then finally, lead. So that's basically the kind of overall sound. I mean, if I go to, say, False Rituals, and quickly just turn that to out 3 and 4, so we get the same thing going on. And that's the same tone I use for the riff in the middle of False Rituals. That and then for the lead patch on here, that's for B section of the second chorus, and I'm basically doing the whole shoegaze thing. Tons of reverb, tons of delay, but what I really like about this particular setup is that it sounds the same every night for James. I can patch in all these different pedals. It's kind of like a condensed version of my mothership rig with the Strymers and the gig rig and everything. Now obviously I would love to have that rig and use that every night. But when we're going to be playing, you know, like support slots and fly-in shows and stuff, It's a lot easier and more efficient for me to just chuck on this pedal board, really small, couple of cables into the effects return, and I'm good to go. It's the same sound every night, and that's really, really useful. And because the models of the amps in the QC are my personal Krakens that we modeled for my plugin that got implemented a few updates ago, those are my actual amps. It's amazing because I know how they sound, I know how they feel, I know how to dial them in. They're the original prototypes of the first Kraken, so it's like, why wouldn't I use those? On top of that, my Thunderclaw, you know, like everything about it is pretty much the same as what I would use out in an analog domain. So next up, I want to show you a baritone patch. So this is for one of our unreleased songs that's on the EP that's obviously coming out very soon. And again, it's a similar vibe, but what's interesting to note about the baritone songs is that I'm sort of consistently using a split coil tone. Joe runs humbuckers on his. He's currently using the Happus Judge with silos in it. But for me, I'm running my Axis with silos, but split down. That is worth pointing out. Both Joe and I use the same pickups. We've both used silos for years before this band, so that's really sick. In any case, yeah, I'm running a split coil tone. So this is the sort of main rhythm patch for this particular song. Something else worth pointing out is that particularly for quite a few of our baritone tunes, we play in a slightly odd tuning. This is the tuning. It's some sort of minor ninth tuning. It's a really, really lovely tuning, and it just pushes you to think outside the box of chord shapes and stuff. But yeah, basically that was my main rhythm patch, and then I have two instances of clean. This one, which is much more ambience. And then one with a bit less. So those would be some of the patches that we used for the Vower shows with Carnival, and we're always in the process of tweaking, but these just work for now. Like, one thing that's worth pointing out is like the levels of reverb and delay are subject to change all the time, because like in the room it sounds fantastic, but through XLR it might be too much or too little, so it's really a case of trying to balance that out. But the main point of this video, outside of me just having a little jam, is that I wanted to show you that signal chain that works really well, where you split off, you send IRs to the main outputs for your XLRs, and then you send to out 3 and 4, if you're running 2 amps or just out 3 or out 4, into the effects return of an actual amplifier so that you can have stage volume. For me, it's such a unique, awesome way of doing it, because it gives me the feeling of ragging amplifiers on stage, but also having a super consistent sound for the sound engineer. And one of the coolest parts about it all is that you've got master volume for the entire rig. Check this out. For me, I love the flexibility of it. I know I'm a bit of a convert from just classic tubes and pedals and amps and stuff, but now I love this hybrid world that I'm in because I get that consistency that I'm looking for, especially with live. As a support band, most of the time we're going to be right now, being such a small band, having to run on stage, get super, like for the carnival gigs, we had to set up in front of all their gear. We really didn't have a lot of time. So throwing the pedal board down, one cable into the effects return, load up your preset, you're good to go. Sound engineer straight in, it's just like super easy. In any case, that's this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, put them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. I'll put links to all this stuff in the description box as well. And of course, if you want to check out Vower's EP Apricity, which is coming out on the 8th of July 2024 with the pre-orders, the vinyls, the merch, all the rest of it, all that's in the description box. It's worth saying I won't be releasing these presets on QC just yet because I want to dial them in properly and make sure that they're absolutely like ironclad. But then I will be putting them on my Neural DSP profile for you all to download if you run QC. I would urge you all to try it, taking out 3 and 4 or just one of those to the effects return of an amp before your cab block or your IR and have a listen to how monstrous it sounds. It's really flexible, super fun. In any case, that's this video. Thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe and share. I've been Rabea and I will see you all very soon.